Green Business Champion for Let's Go Net Zero. I had the pleasure of meeting Duncan when I interviewed him for an article for the Active Sussex website, looking at what different partners are doing around Sussex in relation to environmental social governance. Our paths then crossed again, and Saffron's Leisure won the Environmental Sustainability Award as a Sussex Sport and Physical Activity Award at the end of last year. So Duncan, can you first of all explain who Let's Go Net Zero are and how you became a Green Business Champion for them?
So Let's Go Net Zero are supported by a number of local authorities and I think it's Brighton University. They're all up behind me there. They've got several green business champions across West Sussex, and I'm one of those. And my role is to try and help micro, small and medium businesses to get started with reducing their carbon footprint. So if one of the things I would say from today is if anybody wanted a further conversation about how to just get started, then I'd be more than happy to either meet or log into a Teams call, and it's absolutely no cost. I want to get that up front. There's no cost to this. It's what we're trying to do is get more businesses involved in their journey.
So can you explain why Saffron's Leisure decided to go down this route of environmental sustainability?
So like all businesses, we've always wanted to recycle, turn lights off, and we've dabbled with it. And actually when you look back, it's kind of what we were really doing was probably recycling a little bit of paper, some plastic, and was it going in the right place? Did we know it was going to the right place? Coming out of COVID, I was talking to Sadie actually earlier, and it's very true, it was a restart button. And actually something that you said, we had a bit of space, a bit of breathing space. So we decided to write a strategy. Now, the word strategy can be really daunting. So just a plan, what we were seeing there behind us, just pick that up and use that. On our website, we've got the strategy and it can be downloaded and used by anybody. Just put your name at the top. We decided to do that. The thing about a strategy though is that you've got to get the culture right. And I think there's a famous saying, I think it's Peter Drucker quoted that if you don't get the culture right, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So you've really got to get that culture right and work hard on that.
So what big changes have you made?
Okay, so I already started answering that really with the biggest change was the culture. So my analogy to that would be when you decorate at home, some people get the roller out and start rolling and make that big impact. And after about 5 hours, you realise you've still got most of the work to do, which is cutting in. And that's exactly with any strategy, or particularly sustainability, try and get that culture right. Do the small things first. So what we did was we just did a 3-hour course for all our staff about sustainability. And they came away from it and asked, what was that to do with South Downs Leisure? We learnt about wind turbines, burning peat, burning coal, what's the best thing to do. But what it did, it got everybody talking in the office and going home and saying, I really need to recycle more, I need to buy less. And then we followed it up with 1 or 2 things. It sounds like we were really good, but some of this was by accident. I can guarantee that. And when we saw those accidents happening and they were positive, we built on it. So we did trips to the Ramping Wind Farm where we learned all about the ecology and the sea bass that are returning to that area because the sea isn't being dredged. People were talking about that. And on that trip, after it, they had to have a vegetarian meal. We're not forcing things on people. They didn't have to eat. They could have bought their own meal, but if they wanted us to buy it, it was vegetarian. We did a trip to the West Sussex MRF plant now, and that's where we found out that none of our waste was going there. But what that highlighted was huge amounts of waste we use. So there were little things all the way through that we were seeing. We were introducing recycling bins, proper ones, and we bought electric bikes to go between sites. There's a number of other issues that we did as well. But
So, from your experience then, what small changes can organisations make?
yeah, so I guess go into your office, have a look in your bin, and see what's being thrown in your bin, first of all. If you really want to start anywhere, actually go in the office and have a look at how many bins are in the office, because we are still not getting it right. So although I'm sitting up here and telling you about what we're doing, we've done a lot. But just the other day, two quick stories. We went into one of our centres and there was, I think, about 13 bins in the office. And I'm just amazed. Basically, it had become a magnet for all bins that weren't being used around the centre. But they were all being used. But when we looked inside them, they were very mixed. It wasn't recycling. So we've moved them out and just put recycling in. And that was a cultural thing. We're trying to change the culture from the staff. You've got to start there. The second one, which was quite a funny story really, we bought some battery bins that you see everywhere. And this battery bin at Worthing Leisure Centre was overflowing, which is great. So our customers were really buying into this and the staff were putting batteries in the bin. And we came along just to do our walk around and check, and we said, the bin needs changing, needs emptying. And we've got a contract. We call the company, Recora come out, change the bin, bring a new one, and take the batteries away. But the lad that we were talking to said, oh yeah, I must do that. And he came out with a box and started emptying the batteries into another box. So we asked him, what are you doing with that? He said, I'm taking them to Tesco's to put in their battery bin. And it suddenly made me realise, I wonder how many smaller businesses are bringing their batteries to ours. But it doesn't matter, because it's all getting recycled. What we did do was educate that member of staff that we've got a contract in place, so...
So I'd be interested to know, what are the benefits of doing this?
Yeah, they are huge. Huge benefits. I mean, going back to the culture, the staff feel they've got a purpose. We focus on what is called the triple bottom line. So the triple bottom line is people, planet, profit. And if you imagine that as a three-legged stool, if you focus on profit more than the other two, then it just becomes greed, and the planet suffers and the people suffer. And I think GDP, gross domestic product, focuses on profit more than planet and more than people. But if you imagine that three-legged stool, you've got to do it equal. So people has to be equal to planet, and you've got to look after your profit, otherwise the business goes over. So an example to that would be, we've looked at uniform, and our uniform now is made of recycled plastic bottles. We are looking at other materials as well. I thought it was going to be more expensive. We budgeted for it, and our uniform supplier came along. I don't mind. They came up, their Sussex uniform supplier, and it was cheaper. I said, wow, why have we not used recycled uniform before? So some things can surprise you and be much cheaper. You've got to get your marketing right at the start, and that's internal and external. So depending on the size of your company, you've got to be marketing to outside there to tell people what you're doing. It's educating people. Make sure you don't greenwash, and make sure you market properly to your staff, because your staff will feel great if you're doing things. So I think our staff are much happier. They're definitely more productive. By reducing waste, and what was said in the last presentation about reuse, recycle, upcycle, all those things. We used to go, those office tables look a bit ropey, I think we'll do an office decoration. But no, not anymore. Is it practical? Does that office work? Okay, you don't need an office desk, because if we get a new one, something is going to landfill or something is going to waste. And as a result of that mentality, as a culture across the organisation, we've made huge savings. Not deliberately, we just have, because we're buying less and there's far less waste.
So do you know if it's had an impact on your carbon emissions?
Yeah, so as I said, the People, Planet, Profit, we launched our strategy in October 2021, and we sent people on, actually 16 people on an MVQ, which was, I was one of them. I didn't realise it was going to be 60 hours on top of my job, but it was great, and it got everyone again talking, and we really started to drive down our utility usage. So during the utility crisis, just in Worthing, our electric bill was going to go up from 400,000 a year to 1.4 million. It didn't, because we reduced our carbon footprint by 40% on what it was in 2019, which was the biggest saving of all, because otherwise it would have gone through the roof. So yeah, as a result, we getting the culture right, because if I go along and say, why are those lights on, turn them off, you really don't need them on. People will turn them off, and then as you walk out the door, they'll turn them back on. They really, sometimes you've got staff like that, but actually, when they finally understand this isn't about me asking you or telling you what to do, it's about doing it for the planet, for the people, and they turn around and do that. So there's been that, and because we've now not had to find 1.4 million for utilities, we've only had to find 800,000. Coming out of COVID, we've been able to give staff a pay increase above what would be the average in the country, and bring them in line or above the average in leisure, and just look after staff more. So and the next thing is so the first year was about the planet and reducing utilities. The second year was about waste and reducing waste. We're not forgetting about those, we're still working on those. And this year is about people. So in January we launched, we're giving people their birthday off. So everybody gets their birthday off. February we gave an uplift to swimming instructors. March we're about to talk about the cost of living rise. In April we are matching a pension scheme, we're upping it to 10%, a matching scheme. In May we're launching a recycled bike to work scheme, because there's a bike to work scheme, people can't get bike to work schemes if they're on living wage. So we're doing a recycled bike to work scheme where we give people £125 to buy a lock, helmet and lights, and then £150 interest-free loan for a year to get a second-hand bike from the shop that we've got an agreement with. So, there's all sorts of things like that, and we're doing one a month, and hopefully that's kind of the people theme this year.
So we know more and more people are considering the environment when making decisions, but would it be good to know how making these changes has impacted South Downbridge's reputation?
Yeah, so I was delighted when we won the Active Sussex Award. That's fabulous, and well done to Paul sitting in the front here, who put us forward for that. And I was, we've also won the Adrian Worthing Business Awards. That was their first sustainability award that they did. We entered the Basis Awards a year or so ago, and we were up against Birmingham Commonwealth Games and Liverpool Football Club and South Downs Leisure. So I tried to get my camera out in time to take a picture of the screen with those logos on it. But so that's been good, but it has opened doors. It's opened doors actually both locally and nationally. I was away last week, and UK Active, sorry, my mind went blank then. UK Active came up to me and they've been approached about a sustainability app for staff, how they can do things sustainable and earn points. And they were looking for a pilot, and they came straight to me. So we're you know, in the scheme of things in the UK, we're not enormous, but we're being approached very early on with things like that. And there are so many benefits in so many ways. So, and I've also just when we talk about people, I've only got to do this because I'm so impressed this person's wearing this top. But I've got to give a shout out for Good Gym, you know, because it's such a fabulous thing, you know. So we got involved in Good Gym, we set it up in Worthing and supported it, and it does so many. Well, if any of you don't know what Good Gym is, people meet up, they walk, cycle, run, or even, you know, just get dropped off at a place because people might be injured, but generally they walk, run or cycle to an event, and they might cook for the homeless, or paint some room, or litter pick, or garden, and that's the good deed. And then they'll walk, run or cycle back, and that's why it's called Good Gym. It's an excellent organisation that's based across the whole country.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Duncan, for coming here today and sharing your knowledge and experience with us all. And I'm going to pass on to Andy.